Hi, this is Bobby Warren, teacher of the Koinonia Sunday School class at Parkview Christian Church. And this week we are continuing with our What We Believe series of lessons. Now, I was doing some research and I had out some books from my former professor, Jack Cottrell. I had out The Faith Once for All, which was a great book on systematic theology. I had a Handbook of Christian Apologetics by Peter Kraft and another author, I can't pronounce his name. And then I went into my library and I was looking for a particular book, and I came across another one of Jack Cottrell's books called His Truth. And when I opened it up, basically the chapters he had in this book were just right in line with the kinds of things that I've wanted to teach in this What We Believe class. So we're going to be switching over to Jack Cottrell's book called His Truth. The first lesson was about Scripture, and as you know, last week's lesson was about the Bible. And today or the second chapter is about God the Creator and how He is also ruler of that creation. And then next week we'll get into God our Redeemer. So because this had, basically the same topics that I wanted to cover, I'm just going to use his book as a guide. So we're going to be looking at Jack Cottrell's book, His Truth. And like I said, this week's lesson is God, who is our creator and the ruler of creation. So the Bible opens up with, in the beginning, God created. God created the heavens and the earth. And, a friend of mine once shared that if you can believe the first 5 words of the Bible, and I say the English Bible, in the beginning God created, then you can certainly believe the rest of the Bible. So, God is said to have created the universe, everything we know, out of nothing, which we call ex nihilo. And he didn't have to create anything, but he did. It was his free decision. He created all of this because he wanted to. The Apostle John, writing in Revelation chapter 4, verse 11, says, "You are worthy, O Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power. For you created all things, and by your will they were created and have their being." So it was by God's will that we are here, that the universe was created, the earth was created. The earth was created with, air for us to breathe, oxygen for us to breathe, carbon dioxide for plants to take in for photosynthesis, for water to drink, plants and animals to eat and serve us. We got birds and fish as well. So all of this God created. And he created this, like we said, out of nothing, which in the Latin is ex nihilo. And Hebrews 11:3 says, "By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible." So absolutely nothing existed except for God before the point of creation. When he said, "Let there be light," nothing else existed apart from God. God as creator is kind of just a primary teaching of Scripture. And it's It's kind of mind-boggling to think that people believe all of this happened by accident. But the Bible says that God created us. One of the things that scientists have said over the years was that, basically life gives life. You can't get something from nothing. If nothing exists, where does life come from? And for us, it's the spark of the divine. It is God breathing life, into his creation, into us. Looking at Genesis 1, verses 1 and 2, it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." So right in the first two verses of Genesis, we have God involved in creation, and we have the Holy Spirit involved in creation. But if we jump over to John chapter 1, verse 3, what we read is, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made." So we see in Genesis God involved in creation, the Holy Spirit involved in creation. But what about Jesus? Well, if you jump down to Genesis 1:26, it says, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." So here we see that Jesus is also involved in creation as well. So when we talk about this idea of God creating ex nihilo, out of nothing, Paul writes in Romans 4:17 at the end of the verse, "The God who gives life to the dead and calls into being things that were not." So it is God who gives us life. He is what can make something inanimate animated. Chance can't do that. Something that does not have life in it cannot suddenly have life. For example, think about a brick, a stone. I'm sitting here looking at my computer keyboard. That plastic keyboard's not getting up and going anywhere unless I pick it up and carry it. It doesn't have life. It's not going to have life. But it is God who gives life to the dead and calls into being things that were not. So he's creating ex nihilo. Jack Cottrell says in his book, His Truth, that it should be pointed out that the biblical doctrine of creation is unique, particularly the concept of creation from nothing. No other concept of the origin of the universe is like it. Consequently, no other concept of God is like the biblical one. I'm just thinking of Rich Mullins right now. He said, "Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above. There is no one like our God." So as we look at the nature of God, God is a transcendent creator. This idea of transcendent means that he is different from the created things. It means that he is other than the created things. He is not the same kind. It means he is beyond the created things. And that is a good thing for us. In Romans 1:25, Paul is talking about how people have gone astray. He says they exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. So, throughout history, people have worshiped idols. So basically, woodworkers, stone carvers, what have you, they would create these religious artifacts, and people would worship the thing created instead of the creator of the universe, who is forever praised. Amen, Paul says. So when we buy the lie that there is no God, then we're going to fall for anything. We'll end up worshiping created things and what have you. But it is God who is our creator. He is the one who is worthy of praise. Talking about God being transcendent, Paul will write in 1 Timothy 6:16 that he's talking about God, who alone is immortal and who lives in unapproachable light, whom no one has seen or can see. So God is transcendent. He is beyond us. He is not us. He is not one of us. You know, he is this holy creator God, you know, who is so far beyond us. He is immortal. You know, he goes back in the past for eternity, and he goes into the future for eternity. We have a starting point. God does not. So he's, like I said, he's just transcendent. He's above and beyond us. This transcendent creator God is also infinite. So it means, he's just unlimited. He's unlimited regarding time. He's eternal, as I said. He has no beginning. He has no end. You know, and sometimes this can be a stumbling block for people. So if, you know, who created God? Well, God has just always existed. He did not create him. I know people want to say, or skeptics want to say that, you know, mankind created God, but God is uncreated. So regarding God, in Psalm 102, verses 25 through 27, it says, "In the beginning you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They will all wear out like a garment. Like clothing, you will change them, and they will be discarded. But you remain the same, and your years will never end." So God was in the beginning. People, they come and they go. God remains the same. His years will never end. So he is infinite and eternal. In Revelation 1:8, it says, you know, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, says the Lord God, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty." So Alpha and Omega are their first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. So God's saying he's the beginning and the end. He's the first and he is the last. He is, he was, and he is to come. So he's existed for eternity, and he will always exist because he is eternal. God is said to be omnipresent. That means he can be everywhere and be present at the same time. He is completely present, Jack Cottrell will say, and consciously active in every part of space at all times. And this is brought out in Psalms 139, 7 through 10, where it says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast." So David is telling us that there is nowhere he can go on this earth that he is going to be able to escape from God's presence. Or actually, in the universe, if he goes up to the heavens, God is there. If he goes down into the depths of the sea, he is there. On the horizon, he is there. On the other side of the sea, he is there. Or as the English would say, across the pond. He says, wherever I am, you will be there, and your right hand will hold me fast. So God is omnipresent. He's also omnipotent. That means God is almighty, or he is all-powerful. So if God can create this universe, what will be difficult for him to do, right? That's why, these skeptics who do not believe miracles happen, well, if God created the world out of absolute nothingness, he can perform a miracle. In Matthew 19:26, toward the end of the verse, we read that with God all things are possible. And that is because God is almighty. He can do whatever he wants to do. Also, in Psalm 115, verse 3, we read, our God is in heaven. He does whatever pleases him. So God, as creator and as ruler, he will do what he wants to do. So we looked at God being omnipresent, omnipotent, and he's also omniscient. This is the idea that God knows everything. He is all-knowing. Nothing escapes him. The Apostle John, writing in his first epistle, chapter 3, verse 20, part of that verse says, God is greater than our hearts, and he knows everything. Nothing escapes him. Like we said in an earlier lesson, that God can write history before it happens because he knows how everything will unfold, and we call that prophecy. So God is transcendent. He is beyond the creation. He is omnipresent. He is omnipotent. He's omniscient. So with him being this creator God, what are the implications of creation? So Jack Cottrell lists 7. First, he says that the fact that there is creation means that this physical universe, this physical matter, is inherently good. In Genesis 1:31, after God creates humanity, he says that his creation is very good. Up until this point, God saw that it was good, it was good, it was good. After humanity is created, the creation is said to be very good. Creation supplies this universe and its history with a purpose and a goal. Jack Cottrell says the most urgent philosophical problem is, what is the meaning of it all? And he goes on to say that any philosophy that rules out a creation can never fully answer this question. Only a deliberate act of creation by a personal God makes a purpose and a goal possible. Otherwise, the universe is meaningless because it happened just out of chance. There was no intelligent thought or design that went into its creation. Therefore, it has no purpose. There is no culmination point. It is not moving towards something. Additionally, it is creation that gives human life purpose and meaning as well. And so what is true of the universe is also true of its parts, and we are one of those parts, or we are among those parts. If God didn't create us, then human life has no meaning. I like what Jack Cottrell says. He goes, the question, what does it mean to be human, has no answer. So if God didn't create us, what does it mean to be human has no answer. Also, creation provides a basis for morality. Think about it. Who gets to say what is right and what is wrong? If humans create this code of what is right and what is wrong, ultimately what happens is might makes right. So whoever is the most powerful gets to decide what is right and what is wrong. However, with God being this transcendent creator God who is outside and beyond and above creation, he gets to say what is right and what is wrong. Creation means that we are creatures. It might sound obvious, but it is true. Even though we are created in God's image, we are not divine creatures. We are and we will forever remain just created things, one of God's creatures. Jack Cottrell says that salvation never involves becoming divine or becoming gods. There are false religions that teach this. Creation is the basis for stewardship. When God created the heavens and the earth, he gave the stewardship of the earth to humans. So we are to take care of it. This idea of recycling is nothing new. We've been doing it forever. We've been good stewards of God's creation. Creation requires that we stand in awe of God. This God being the creator. This idea of standing in awe of God is the foundation of worship. Jeremiah asked on Facebook, what's the first thing that comes to mind when we think of the word worship? Well, I told him, or I answered him on Facebook, that in the New Testament there are two Greek words that are used for worship. One is proskuneo, and this is falling down on your face, before God. What they call falling prostrate. That's on your face, down, bowing before God, recognizing his awesomeness, his holiness, and that he deserves to be revered. So that's this idea of proskuneo. The second word for worship is latruo, and we get the English word laity out of this. And that basically means being in service. So it's interesting about this idea of worship that in the New Testament, when Jesus is on earth, the primary word for worship is proskuneo. And when Jesus ascends to heaven, the primary word for worship becomes latruo. So we're kind of in this spiritual service. Then when we get to the book of Revelation and Jesus again is present, the primary word for worship goes back to proskuneo. But because of the creation, we are to stand in awe of our Creator. And so, because God is the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything in it, he owns it all. And so he gets to be our ruler. He is our ruler, and we are to be obedient to him. God wasn't created in our image. We were created in his. So we need to worship him, obey him, and follow him. So that is our look at God, the Creator. And next week we're going to look at God as the Redeemer. So I pray you'll be back with us next week. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. Have a great week.